All right, welcome to Rapid Fire Manufacturing. We're excited to have Ann Wyatt with us. Ann is a recruitment expert with a passion for connecting top talent to the manufacturing industry. She knows what it takes to build strong teams that drive the industry forward. Super excited to get your thoughts and kind of explore some of the challenges and opportunities in manufacturing with recruitment. So thank you, Ann, for joining.
Oh, thanks, David. Thank you so much for having me. This is going to be so much fun.
Absolutely. Are you ready for the first question?
I am. Hit me with it.
So, what's one trend you're seeing in manufacturing recruitment right now that companies should really be paying attention to?
Oh, gosh. I think the one trend that you've really got to look at right now in recruiting is the candidate experience and really communicating with your candidates through the recruitment process. And that's more of the process oriented side of things and not as much as the candidate outreach and the actual recruiting of the candidate. But the stronger that your process is throughout the recruitment cycle, the better off your chances and that connection with that candidate are going to be from the ground level. So that's going to inspire a stronger relationship going forward. And I think in part a stronger employee.
Now, I guess from the candidate's perspective, what's something that they can do to help with the recruitment process? Like, are there things they should be preparing so when they talk to people like you, like it's going to make it much easier for them and you?
Yeah, I think you've got to be communicative, right? You've got to
Mm-hmm.
let people know where you are in your process. And I always appreciate it when people are super forthcoming with that. And they're just like, hey, I mean, they just tell you up front. They're like, I am interested in exploring this opportunity, but I'm not going to lie to you. I've got a couple other interviews lined up. And then at least you kind of know where you are in things. And then if you go into the interview and you come out of that interview really thinking that this is the right candidate for you, then you've got to be prepared to face those other offers and really do what you've got to do to make that connection with that future new hire. So I think communication on both ends is probably the most underrated recruitment skill set, if that makes sense.
Yes. And so that's on not only the candidate, but it's also from the manufacturer, whoever's hiring too. It's like make sure that communication line is very open and just like you said, forthcoming. Like everything needs to be laid out, all the details. So there's no, you know, I don't know, mishaps or
Absolutely.
chances for error.
Yes. Every single step of the process, communicate, over communicate
Mm-hmm.
is better than under communicating. Definitely.
So how can manufacturers better attract skilled workers in a competitive job market, especially when competing with other industries?
Yeah, I think what they've really got to do in part of their interviewing process, and this is a great question, David. Thank you so much for asking. I think what they've got to do in the recruitment process is really analyze and separate the why, isolate the motivator behind that candidate looking for a new role at that time. Are they looking for a title change, right? Or some sort of promotion? Is that their motivating factor? Are they looking for a salary increase? Is that the motivating factor? Are they looking for better work-life balance? So isolate their why and then play to that why. Does that make
I like,
sense?
yeah. So is this something you're going to ask them when you have your, your talks with them? Like, hey, what's the reasoning why you want to jump into this industry? Is it specific? You want that work, life or family balance? You want, a higher salary, or you want some flexibility, or you want a night shift? What's your reason for switching? So you just ask them directly.
Yeah, so there's going to be basic questions that you ask as a recruiter to any candidate that you're screening. And so those questions are going to be, why are you looking for a new role at this time? What is your salary range? You can't necessarily ask for a specific number now, but you can still ask for a range. Are you willing to relocate? And what are the highlights from your previous experience that are going to be helpful for this role? based on the job description that we go over. So you want to ask those 4 basic questions no matter what. And then you can kind of get fancy with it, right? You can ask about the skills, and you can ask about the programming languages, and you can ask about their KPIs and all that good stuff. But you want to always start with those 4 basic questions. And that one question of why you're looking for a new role at this time needs to really kind of point to some sort of motivation behind why they're seeking a position and what they're looking for in their next company, if that makes sense.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. This is nice. It's like a recruitment 101 class that I'm getting. So I like this. Now, are you conveying this to the manufacturers that are hiring, or is this for you personally so you can develop a really, foundational understanding of the person so you can really hone in on some of the potential manufacturers?
That's a great question. And again, I think I think that question is a good example of why AI will never replace recruiters as people, because I think there becomes a layer of discernment there when you get some answers, because I've heard some crazy things. I have heard all of the horror stories about the X company that you can imagine, in the worst way, where you're kind of like, I don't think, that's probably going to be a good fit,
Yeah.
And I've heard just different stories about people kind of like being in kind of a rocky time in their lives, right? Like maybe they're in some sort of transitional period in their lives. I mean, we're human, that's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Or, I mean, maybe they are straight to the bones and they're like, hey, they're laying off a bunch of people and my job is on the chopping block. So I think that it's really important that you value your relationship with your candidates in a sense that you let them tell you all of the things and be as unfiltered with them as possible. But then you, as a recruiter, have to have an utmost high level of integrity in how you proceed going forward. So does it serve both parties equally by presenting this candidate with their why motivating factor? And when you do that, do it in a professional way. Don't just say, oh, this person wants more money or whatever. I don't think any recruiters would do that. I don't know any, but you've got to have a high level of integrity and a high level of discernment and a high level of executive decision making. If that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely. No, that's awesome. And it seems like you're doing a really good thing. We need people to join the workforce. We need to, again, solve some of the skills gap, knowledge gap, leadership gap, all those things to really make a difference in the manufacturing industry.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've got to get more people excited about the manufacturing industry. And we've also got to get our leadership to change their perspective as well in a certain way. It can't be so like cut and dry in a certain sense, especially in technical recruiting. A lot of your technical directors or engineering leaders, they're very cut and dry. And they are the ones that are reviewing the resumes for applicants. So really, again, practicing a level of discernment. Do you want somebody with exquisite ops leadership experience, that maybe can learn this role and the technical skills? Or do you absolutely have to have the technical skills? And are you willing to look at somebody with maybe that ops leadership experience from outside of your industry niche? Having those conversations are important because we are very limited. We've got very limited resources. And I mean, numbers don't lie,
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks for joining on Rapid Fire Manufacturing. And thank you for sharing your expertise. And for those of you watching, keep pushing boundaries, stay inspired, and keep manufacturing great things. Thanks so much, Ann.